This is my 4th try today. Welcome to our podcast. Hi. 4? Yes. Tangent, no sound. And here we are. I really hope there's sound this time. I mean, I did check. I just checked. So, here's hoping. Okay. It took longer than I thought it was gonna take for me to, get this to happen. Because everything went wrong this week. Beginning last Saturday, it is now Sunday, okay? The 27th, and now it's the 7th? 6th. Today's the 6th, I think. So, it's been a lot. It's been just a lot across the board. Just every facet of my life, there's something that's happening that I'm not super happy is happening. So I had a really rough week. And I think it made wanting really hard. So I was having a conversation yesterday with somebody. I was getting some advice, and I'm trying to take it. Mostly the advice is to stop doing things out of guilt. I think we should clarify that point, because I don't hang out with people because I feel guilty. I don't do things like the fairy nonsense stuff that I do, which still happens all the time. I still absolutely doing the most. That stuff I do not do out of an obligation. I do allow guilt to control where the majority of my energy goes. And so instead of doing things that fill my cup, however that looks, I do things that nobody wants to do, because of course nobody wants to do them, but they have to get done. And this is just in a lot of different parts of my life. Yes. But this person told me that I needed to stop doing that. I mean, like very easy to say stop doing that, but being guilty, like feeling guilt is one of my most Jewish traits. That and complaining. So not feeling guilty, I don't know if I've ever not felt guilty. That's hyperbole, I think. But I feel guilty for saying no to things I don't want to do that don't have to be my job. Like, if nobody wants to go clean something, then I'll end up doing it because, well, it needs to get done and I know how to do it and nobody else has done it yet. So then I do it. And then I'm angry about doing it because, like, it's a tiered reason, okay? So here's why I get upset when I've done the thing. Because A, why didn't anybody else do it? Like, why am I the only one doing this thing? This comes for, like, group stuff, right? Like, common areas, or if some sort of organizational task needs to be completed, like, nobody wants to, like, be responsible. Nobody wants to say, hey, I'll do it. And I am very aware from many, many years now that if it's everybody's job, it's nobody's job. So nobody will do it. And so I started doing it. And so then I do it. Then I get angry at myself, partly for doing it, and then partly for being mad that I'm mad for doing it, because I don't want to be like everyone else in that aspect. If nobody is doing the thing, I don't want to be part of that nobody. If it's something I believe needs to be done. So trying to find a balance in that regard is difficult, and it leads to me doing things that I don't want to do. I don't want to do it. But again, like, I want things to get done. And it starts to feel passive aggressive really fast to me. Like, I'm not gonna play trash Jenga. I'll just take out the trash. Is just how I operate these days. And yeah, it gets obnoxious, but I think that I think it would be hypocritical if I just didn't do the thing. Or sometimes I feel guilty because there are a lot of things that I wish I could do, but I, like, actually cannot. Physically or mentally, I cannot do a thing, right? And so I'm like, well, if I can do it, then I should do it so that I'm still, like, doing what I can. And I'm trying really hard to not be that person, but I'm still that person. And it's made it so that doing what I want at all makes me feel guilty. Like, it's summertime. I should not actually feel guilty about not being prepped for next year for one of my teaching gigs. Like, I don't need to be prepped yet. I don't need to be, like, ready to go. I have some ideas, you know, and, like, I am thinking about it, but it's July 6th. What? What? Why do, and so then I feel guilty that I'm not doing that thing. It's a long-term project. I don't have to finish it right now, but I feel guilty. And so then instead of just doing the thing I want to do for a little bit and giving myself that permission to spend, I don't know, half an hour doing something I really want to do, like sitting down, filming a podcast, or crocheting something, I'm still just kippas and beanies, okay? I can do in the round pretty well, actually. That's where we're at still, though. One day, little rabbit. Um, and so, or like even like watching a YouTube video or a TV show, I feel bad about it because there's important stuff that needs to be done, and it's really hard for me to remember that, like, the to-do list is infinite. So yeah, yeah. And so, like, that's been extra a lot of feeling this week, is that uh, I haven't felt like I can do the things that I want to do, um, in so many different areas of my life. And then on top of that, I got just a bunch of bad news this week in a bunch of different areas of my life. I got a bunch of news that I didn't want, and I got some news that I wish I had had sooner. And so I definitely hit a point where I was like, so then what even, why do I even want to do all this stuff? Because, like, you know, the world sucks. And it wasn't like depression, but I definitely, like, fell into an apathetic funk for a few days. uh I to put it, I missed out on a convention. I had to go home early from work because I was ill. I was sick, and then my tire was flat. Like, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday, I had to go home early because I hit the wall sooner than I anticipated. And then Tuesday, I was ill. And then Wednesday, I woke up and I had a flat tire. And then Thursday, I had to drive really far away to see my rheumatologist, who told me that I could take more Tylenol, so that's nice. I can now take up to 3 tablets a day of Tylenol. So that's nice. It's nice that those labs have improved. But then also at the same time, she was like, "Hey, so let's get an X-ray on your hips." Um, so kind of being faced with physical stuff that I really try to pretend doesn't exist. That's been a major theme this week. Um, I don't. I'm open about things, but that doesn't mean I talk about them a lot. And my and a lot of the stuff that I don't like discuss a lot is because it's not likely to ever change for the better. I don't talk about having lupus because any changes tend to be of like increased symptoms, not like, hey, you can go back off of the chemotherapy drugs. So I don't talk about it. It's not the chemo you're thinking about. It's pills. It's just pills. So to have like a bunch of like physical stuff all at once that was negative, that was rough. I've had some interpersonal stuff that has thrown me really hard. Again, from more than one place, but that doesn't make it easier. I was faced with how debilitating my PTSD really is. Once again, I don't talk about it a lot because like it's just a kind of a bummer. But a few weeks ago, the Maccabees were in my area. They are a Jewish a cappella group. And I was really, really excited to go see them. I just love music. I really do. I will listen to polka, and I will listen to pretty much anything at least once. I just, there are things that I don't listen to regularly, but that's because of other reasons. Like I don't listen to a lot of gangster rap because, and I like to sing along. I don't listen to a lot of death metal because the screaming and the bass is triggering. I have read a bunch of lyrics, and I don't have a problem with like the lyrics themselves. It's that it amps me up in not a good way, unfortunately, because that's just how some stuff is. But I got to the location an hour-ish early, more than an hour. Like I was sitting in my car for almost an hour, and I was still, would have been hella early. I went to open the door, and I wanted to hurl. So I closed the door and I left. And that was like my car. I could not get out of my car. I went to this convention and I couldn't even park because of the anxiety, because the person that I wanted to see had canceled their appearance. And I couldn't bring myself to go in without a plan. I couldn't think of a reason to go in that equaled the reason that I got the ticket. So then I couldn't even make myself park. Yay. So this week has just, it's been a lot of limitations. Miscommunication that I am frustrated by on my part, on others' parts, different situations. Like there's definitely a situation where I feel like I'm in the wrong, or like a situation I wish I had handled better, and there's a situation where I was like, no, I don't think I did wrong here. still feel like there were different choices that could have been made, but that doesn't mean I think I made the wrong one based on the information that I had at the time, because information is so very useful. So, yeah, physical stuff, mental stuff, interpersonal stuff, and then, a flat tire, because of course. So yeah, I missed like all my hours this week for one of my jobs. That was super swell. And so I reached out and got some advice on how to move forward in just when so much is going wrong. Just so much. And I know there are people out there who you get comfort from so many different things, and I wish that I could just trust that there was some reason that all this was happening, etc. I don't believe that. I believe things happen because they happen. And so I needed advice that took that into consideration. I needed practical, here are steps that you can take to right the wrongs you think you've made. Here are steps you can take to start doing the things that you want to do. That's the kind of advice I was looking for and I received. Basically the advice just boiled down to you're allowed to do what you want to do. And encouragement to say no. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to say no as much as I kind of want to, but I am gonna be practicing it more. I want to practice saying yes to things, even when they're absolutely terrifying. Because I know that if I had just been able to get inside of either of these recent events that I couldn't handle, if I had been able to get inside, it would have been fine. I know what conventions are like inside now. These particular types of conventions, when I went to my first convention, I didn't have a panic attack. I never worried about. I have this fear that I've had since I was very small of being trampled. That's my biggest concern in large crowds, especially adults. I don't have the same concern with children. But adults, standing in a formation in the military was still, could activate stuff. Actually, when I was in basic training, I was in 4th Platoon, and I was known for being in 4th Squad, and all the way at the end, every time. Everywhere we went, I wanted to be in 4th Squad all the way at the end. I didn't want to be squad leader, because then I would be, in the middle of stuff. I didn't want that. I was the last one. For everything. I'd be yeah, I will be the last one to eat. That's fine. If I could have volunteered for weapons duty and stuff during JOW, I would have. If I could have done it that way. They didn't let us. They didn't let us volunteer. Not for that. They were no, everybody has to do it. Rotations. So, I didn't get to do it as much as I wanted to. That's how I am. But I don't have that feeling when I go to cons. I get inside the building and I'm oh yeah, these are my people. They're all super respectful of space. That's another reason I love children, is because while they love to give a good hug, they'll also listen if you say, hey, maybe not right now. Whereas adults who love to give hugs, oh, but I'm a hugger. Okay, cool. I'm not. So, but at conventions, like, baseline rules are that consent is a requirement, like, for everything. Like, I don't have to worry about it. And because that's like the culture of those events, if anybody is being disrespectful, like, I haven't had it happen, but I do, like, I know that if something happens that makes me uncomfortable, there are steps that I can take in those environments. And like, so like, I feel safer because I know even if something does happen, they already agreed to not touch each other. Like, you agree to not touch people without asking. So then if you do it, there are consequences. And because those consequences are clearly laid out for everybody, I'm not on the defensive inherently, because, like, there is no expectation to be touched. If somebody does touch me and I do freak out, they know they were wrong already, because everybody, the whole group, the whole building is in on, like, nope, we already agreed we're not touching each other because we have so many people here and so many people don't like to be touched. So it's, I don't know. Also, I think I don't know if I actually said this before, but I've told people this in real life. Going to a convention kind of feels like class changing in school. Like, even if somebody does brush up against you, again, they're not trying to. Nobody wants to be in your space. There's just a lot of us around. I don't know. It is very nice though. Anyway, um, and then the Maccabees thing, like, that building is a building that I also go to frequently and would like if I make it inside, it's usually pretty cool. I'm usually fine for a while, at least, like, much longer than I have any right to be fine, considering how many people we can put inside that building, who I don't know. Like, so I I put a lot of energy into my perceived responsibilities, and then I don't have energy for my desires. I don't have energy for my outlets because I use up all my energy on responsibilities that don't need to be my responsibility. So I'm going to say yes to more things that are for me and no to more things that are not for me or that can be done by somebody else. Because I don't have to be responsible for everything. And I hope that if I say that enough times, I'll believe it. We're trying to use, we're CBTing ourselves into compliance here. That was a really dumb therapy joke, not the other CBT. So this has just been half an hour of me rambling about wanting to be different and how much this week has sucked. Oh, because sometimes it just sucks. Anyway, so now that I've got that out of my system, the poll was tied. So I'm just gonna sprinkle in some stories, like, as I go. So, what's a good Pride story? Okay, so the Pride event that happened in my area recently, where my temple had a presence, I was at the table for a lot of it. Like I was at the event for 3 hours, and like I'd say like half an hour of that was a quick wander, but mostly it was like standing in a line to get some sustenance. I I think the thing that maybe hit me the most from that afternoon was this young person came up and was so overwhelmed by the presence of our temple at Pride. Like having a table at Pride and having queer representatives at the table, that like they got so overwhelmed that they almost started to cry because they didn't know that we were there. And I very, very often say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing in heavy situations. And this one time, I didn't feel awkward about it. I empathized so much because I've had that feeling of complete isolation and then finding a group I didn't know was there just ready to support me. And so the person got overwhelmed and was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And I was just like, it's a heavy feeling. Like, you're allowed to have that feeling. You can just sit here and have that feeling for a few minutes, because finding support as a queer Jew, especially right now, can be hard. And they looked at me and they were like, it is so hard. And being able to be that person for somebody, just for a moment to give somebody the gift of being seen, because it is like, every time I have felt seen, it has been a gift to feel seen and understood. I always take it as a gift. And so to be able to do that for somebody else, especially at Pride, yeah, that was I think one of my favorite moments of the past few years of Pride events, honestly. was being able to be the person that I like to be. And for it to have happened so naturally. Again, I don't believe that everything happens for a reason. I don't think there's a plan, guys. I don't. I don't. I think maybe if we're lucky, there might be some notes around. There's not a plan. And so to be able to have a moment like that anytime is a big deal. But it's just always extra special when it's at an event like Pride. So, yeah. I have some funny stuff that happened, but like, we'll get there. So that's a wholesome. And I think I will give you guys the hashtag brand new sentence that I have been sharing. It was one of the last days of school. It was locker clean out at the school that I sub for. And I got to say, and how long has the decapitated fly been in your locker? In case you were wondering, the answer was about a month. I told the child that in that case, it would probably turn to dust as soon as it was touched. So go out and clean your locker. There's a number of things that I absolutely adore about just working with kids in general. And one of them is seeing how different kids try to push the envelope. So, having a kid ask, "What about the decapitated fly in my locker?" It took a lot for me to not just bust out laughing. I definitely had to cover it with a world-weary sigh. I was just like, because what I wanted to do was laugh. Because it's just a funny, it's funny. It's funny. I work with middle schoolers because I have the sensibilities of a middle schooler. It's funny. I can't tell them it's funny. Now, mind you, I tell these kids when they're funny so often. So often. But yeah. That one was certainly my favorite. I'm trying to think if I have any other stories that I want to tell. I don't think I have anything right now, honestly. Like, I gave you a sub story and I gave you a pride story, and we had some discussion about how much I wish I was different. We're gonna put inspirational Skeletor right here. Growth is getting sick of your own bullshit. And there's a lot of ways that I am sick of my own bullshit. I've been sick of it. I've been trying to change, and I'm gonna keep trying to change. I'm gonna keep trying to improve and be the person that I want to be more tomorrow than I was today. That's all you can do. We're working on the 1% rule. Get a little bit better every day. I really should have put my phone on vibrate before I started, because I bet that's gonna go off again. I'm almost done though. It's fine. So, as always, if you have anything to say, leave a comment. There's comments on YouTube. You can drop one down there. There's comment options on Spotify. You can drop one there. I don't know about the rest of them. I know you could probably find this podcast elsewhere. I don't know how to interact with those spots. So, like, sorry. Um, but yeah, leave a comment. If you also feel guilty for not taking on responsibilities that don't actually have to be your responsibility, let me know. Also, maybe this week you try to say yes to something that you really want and no to something that you really don't want that somebody else could do. Let's all try that, and then we'll meet back here next week and I'll talk about it because, well, it's my podcast. But I would love to know if you guys do that. Other than that, the world remains on fire, and I remain alive. Okay, the end.